Redditors who suddenly came into a lot of money. What was your horror story of people begging for money? I once took second in a poker tournament and won $150,000. There was an audience of about 200 people when it finished. Common practice was PPL ask winners for a lucky chip. I was almost mobbed by people begging for lucky chips as I left the casino. Had to be escorted by security and paid a friend $300 to follow me in their car, and we drove all over town for 2 hours to make sure nobody was following me home. Wouldn't have thought of the driving part. That's pretty smart. God knows what kind of desperate yawn lives at the fringes of those events. I've heard that there's a big problem with casino sleuths, who are usually small groups of people, 3 to 6, that walk around the casino and scout for people who win big money. If they spot someone, they will call it into their friends and they will keep an eye on the winner all night until they leave, and then jump them and take everything they have. It's one of the reasons I don't go to casinos. So I wouldn't consider it a lot of money, but I won $5,000 on a scratch off that was given to me on my birthday by my aunt. It was just a $2 scratcher and obviously nobody thought I would win that much. I scratched it in front of everyone, and they were all super excited for me, except my aunt, who demanded the ticket back because she paid for it. I even offered to split half with her. Long story short, she took me to small claims where the judge pretty much laughed, and she didn't get shit. Haven't talked to her since. I even offered to split half with her. Wow, that's really generous, and it sounds like she still insisted on taking it all. What a piece of shit. I unexpectedly inherited about 4 years worth of take-home pay. Before I knew how much it would be, I told my best friend I'd be getting a few $1,000s. She immediately asked me to take her on a trip to Europe. That was the biggest thing she asked for, but she made other small requests as well. When the money came through, and it was a lot more than I'd anticipated, I did not tell my friend. Instead, I started distancing myself from her. I also did not tell any of my other friends. I did tell my boyfriend. He did not ask for anything. I took him on a trip to Europe. My grandma died a week before Christmas, and she left her house and 1/4 of her small fortune to me. The rest of the money went to my brother and my 2 cousins. My uncles and aunts have been a pain in my back ever since, claiming that the money/house are theirs, etc. And I've also been approached by people who I haven't seen nor talked in a while. Even my ex, who dumped me for some douchebag rugby player, started talking to me again and inviting me to places, and she's still dating the same guy. Anyway, I'm not naive enough to lend those people money or befriend even. Luckily I have good friends and my brother as advisors. So a few years out of college, my girlfriend and I were living in a sort of large communal apartment with 5 other people, 2 bedrooms, 2 couches in the common area. I had just gotten a significant promotion at my job, and that situation was exceptionally below my means, but my GF was convinced that these were her people and they were all going to become great philosophy writers and poets by living together and sharing experiences. They were all unemployed or underemployed and experienced moochers, so I was very careful not to let them know I was saving large sums of money with the intent of moving out soon and taking my GF with me, or not. One day the other couple had an argument about rent, and to try and keep them from coming to blows, my GF promised them that I'd cover it for them and showed them one of my pay stubs, which I guess they showed everyone else. I got home from work and walked right into an apartment meeting ambush where everyone else informed me that they wanted me to contribute more meaningfully and they'd put it to a vote before I got back. I told them that I was already paying for their food, that they kept guilting my GF into buying for them, topping up the apartment emergency fund instead of stealing from it like the rest of them, and many other things, and that I wasn't going to cover other people's rent as well. The next day, when I was at work, someone went into my room and destroyed my laptop, which was the only thing of value I owned at the time. I collected the few things I wanted to take, told my GF I was breaking up with her, and walked out. So, I knew this girl who was a sex worker, had known her for years, and we had even briefly dated before she got into that line of work. She was always really open about what she was doing and that she enjoyed it, which I believed, because this woman was a freak, in a good way. In fact, one of the reasons things hadn't worked out was that she was way too kinky for me, and I'm pretty open-minded. She always explained it to me like this: I would be a total slut either way, so why not get paid for it and not have to work? Fair enough, I didn't question it. Fast forward like 10 years, and I had inherited a bunch of money. Not like obscenely wealthy, but enough to really change my lifestyle. And I still talk to my friend regularly, even though we live in different parts of the country. She was one of the few people who was there for me consistently through some really dark times, and I was there for her in the same way, and I really valued her friendship. She started talking about how she wasn't young anymore, and she wasn't happy anymore doing what she was doing, and wanted to change directions. You probably can guess where this was going. She had a plan that seemed pretty good. I was also in the midst of intentionally drinking myself to death, and I was pretty sure I was going to die soon. I came very close, so I didn't really care about money. I ended up giving her $10,000 that she needed to go back to school, not a loan, just gave it to her. I don't know what she spent it on, drugs probably, but she didn't go back to school. She abruptly cut off contact with me after 12 years, and that was that. Obviously I didn't die, although as I said I came extremely close. I still have money, so I'm not even mad about that. And she was legitimately a huge support in my life for a long time, when there was no expectation of her ever getting anything out of it, so I'm still grateful for that. I think her demons just got the best of her, and she's probably really ashamed or maybe even dead, but it was such a painful betrayal. I inherited my beloved grandma's house alongside with some other properties. As the house and the properties are near a very rapidly developing city, prices have skyrocketed and lead to me inheriting about $1.5 million in value. That may sound awesome at first, but it truly isn't. The house is a very old brick house, built in the late 1700s, and the properties are so small and widely distributed I can't really sell them for a good price. As the house is a listed historical building, every little repair has to be done by state-approved professionals for restoration and conservation of old buildings, which basically doubles, if not even triples the costs. I rented it out, but the rent I get is barely enough to cover the costs of repairs, insurance etc. I'm lucky if I get even by the end of the year. But as this house is where my family used to live for the last 4 generations before my dad bought the ranch and moved there with my mum, I want to keep it in the family as long as possible. Now, somehow, word has spread that I inherited a lot of money. I did my best to stop these rumors, but it didn't work out. I've never had many friends, but the ones I have are true quality friends. They will do everything for me, and I will do everything for them. After I got the house and the rumors spread, I got invitations to dinner in some really fancy restaurants. I was invited to sport events, I don't even like sports, and some other very costly activities. All these came from people who claimed to be my friends. Needless to say, they expected me to pay for everything. You've got so much money, what do these $500 matter to you? I'll pay you back sometimes. etc. were the common phrases I got to hear. The best one were, "You are way too young, 28 BTW, to have this kind of money, so just give it to us. You don't deserve to have so much money. You have never worked a day in your life. Been working at the power plant since I was an apprentice at 18, worked my way up to deputy manager / shift supervisor, while the guy this came from was unemployed, as long as I can remember, and lived from welfare. I have now learned who to trust and to spot telltale signs of vultures." My mom has this ugly football themed van. Ever since I was 10 we would go around in circles about how it will be mine one day, but I told her from the start I'll pass, I hate vans and football. Bought a different car and the van broke down after she put over 300k miles on it. I get my first income tax which was almost 3k, and she tries to sell me the van for 2k. I tell her no, and she drops it to 1000. Since I can easily afford it I still refuse, and less than an hour later she sends me a picture of a 1200.00 dog for sale with "This is what I want for my birthday. He's in Kentucky, I'll send you the address." She wanted to use my money to get a dog, and was hoping to be sneaky and trick me into buying a broken ugly van to fund her multi-state trip to pick up her dream dog. She didn't speak to me for months after and still tries to sell me that pose for more than it was worth when it ran. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe.